Um,
Yeah.
but so Ulrike Al-Khamis, who's Director of Collections and Public Programs, and your daughter, Hanaan Al-Khamis. And
Happy to be here.
well, I thought maybe you could tell us a little bit about yourself, where you are in the world. People are all over, and these are global conversations. So,
Yeah.
where are you?
Okay, I'll start off. So I am in Dubai at the moment, completely other side of the world to the rest of my family. But a little bit about myself. I am a cocktail, half Iraqi, half German, very proud to be both. And I was born in Scotland initially, but lived between Dubai and Scotland. So studied between Scotland and Dubai, worked between Dubai and Scotland. And now I'm living here by myself and I'm working as a PR executive for a jewelry brand here, which I'm enjoying so far, but obviously missing the family loads, and very grateful for video calls, keeping me sane the last few months. So it's a little bit about me. Yeah.
Awesome. And Ulrike, you're in Toronto now at the Aga Khan Museum. And what was your journey to get there?
Halfway around the world, because I was born in Germany, went to the UK to study, fell in love with an Iraqi. Then after finishing our studies, we moved from London to Edinburgh, had our 3 Scottish Iraqi kids. Started my professional career there, of course, at Glasgow Museums and then at the National Museum of Scotland in Edinburgh. And then in 2007, moved to take up a position in the United Arab Emirates, in the Emirate of Sharjah, to help build a museum service and particularly the Museum of Islamic Civilization there. And spent 10 wonderful, wonderful years in Sharjah, and then since 2017 I'm working for the Aga Khan Museum in Toronto with the family as a whole, me included, or normally happily shuttling between our various different bases, and now suffering very much from the fact that I can't travel to see my family can't travel to see me, my kids being scattered all over. It's not a good feeling, which I know is shared by many people all over the world.
Yeah, I believe, many people do share that. And we've been in this global situation of COVID-19 where many of us have had to be isolated in our homes. Many of us have the different opportunities to work on projects to create safe space at home. And many of us are grappling with not being able to see our loved ones regularly. What's that been like for you, Hanaan?
I'm actually a massive people person. This is why I got into PR. I just love being with people. I love building relationships with people. So aside from the family, which is obviously a given, missing them loads, I've missed sort of just being around people and engaging with people and interacting with people. Again, super grateful for video calls. I've tried to be as proactive as having breakfast with my friends in the morning on video call. And even from time to time I would just sit on video call with a friend just to have her face there while I was doing my work for the whole day, and I would never speak to her, but it was just feeling like I had somebody there. So that helped me a lot. But missing the family massively. I'm happy. I mean, one sense of comfort I have is that my mom and dad are together and that my brother and my sister are together. So, I'm always fine. If they're fine, then I'm fine. So that's brought me a massive sense of comfort, knowing that, they all have each other and I can just jump on a video call whenever I need my dose of Al-Khamis madness.
Do you find, Ulrike, that you're speaking more to your family in the current situation? I'm thinking of the technology. I know that I am. It's just because there's more incentive because you kind of know you can't see one another.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And because the longing is so intense, we are a very, very close family, even though we are scattered across the globe. And for us, conversation, or sualif, as we call it in Iraqi, is lifeblood to us. So any free moment that we have, we are on one of the platforms available to us, and really put the world to rights. And we always have very, very deep conversations around the dinner or lunch table traditionally. So now that we don't have that, we sometimes even organize virtual meals together so that we can continue this this relationship and this custom, which for us is really kind of therapy as well.
I mean, sorry to interrupt, we celebrated my sister's birthday on Zoom, and we celebrated my dad's birthday on Zoom. So and imagine the time differences between Scotland and Dubai and Toronto. So, you know, we try to do it in a way where my mom and dad can be having lunch, and my brother and my sister will be having dinner, and I'm sitting here maybe with like a dessert or something. So we all feel like we're sitting together. You know, I was obviously massively missing the home cooked food that everybody seemed to be eating and that I couldn't be a part of, but it was the next best thing.
So I heard from your mom that you've been working on a project related to food.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit about that.
I would happily tell you about it. So, massive foodie. I think from being Iraqi, we are naturally massive foodies. And because I'm a foodie, I am Iraqi. You know, it goes both ways. But I think for our family in general, just growing up, food has been a massive part of so many memories, so many moments. I think every kind of emotion is related to food, socializing is related to food. So very good connotations for me with food. And I think being home by myself, I have started to cook a bit myself. But as everyone will always say, nothing beats the cooking of your mom and your dad. And I think especially during this period where things are a little bit difficult and you're missing your family loads, you miss the comfort that comes with the home cooked food. Like, it's not just a delicious dish, which I obviously devour every single time, but it's which I really devour every single time. But it's more so the comfort that comes with it. It's the everyone getting together over the dinner table to eat it, to enjoy it. So I kept sitting and thinking, like, I wish my mom could make me this. I wish my dad could make me this. And then I just had this kind of moment or idea where I was like, why don't I make a Mama and Baba family cookbook? So I wanted it to be just my mom and dad's dishes, something we can pass down. I mean, there's dishes my dad makes. Dijaj thabit is like chicken in the way of his mother, the way she used to make it. And, you know, that's something that's passed down from his mother to us. And I wanted something physical that we could all have, all the kids, wherever we are in the world, to you know, make these dishes, to feel a bit of mama when we're missing mama. We want to have like a wee German dish, or, you know, feel a bit of my dad when we make an Iraqi dish. And I think for me personally, if I had these recipes while I was in lockdown and I was able to make these dishes, I would have felt a massive sense of comfort. I definitely, obviously it would never be as good as my mom and dad's cooking. I would never even try to come up to par, but it would be close enough, you know. So this is my idea, this is my project. It was going to be a surprise for the family, but obviously I can't make the cookbook without my mom and my dad, so I had to kind of ruin the surprise a little bit. But my brother and sister don't know, so I'm hoping to really put like a cute cookbook together of all our favorite dishes, all of us. You know, my mom's amazing baking, and my dad's good baking of bread. specifically, and the German dishes, the Iraqi dishes, just our favorite dishes in general, and put it all together and then give a copy to each of us. So no matter where we are in the world, we can always find a bit of comfort in making a family dish, whether it's for just me or me and my friends, or I don't know. So that was the project.
Yeah. So Ulrike, what are your favorite recipes? What have you contributed? I guess you've been talking to each other about this book and sharing recipes. Is it easy? Do you have them all in your head, or do you actually also have a recipe book that you go to that comes from your family?
This is a very good question, because Germans, of course, measure to the gram. And you know, when you have recipes, you have very, very precise metric guidelines in your cookbook. Whereas the way Iraqis cook, and I always admire my sisters-in-law for that, it's all in their heads and it's all in their intuition. And every time their dishes come out, and my husband included, just absolutely to point, but it's never really written down. So this is a bit of a problem. But you know, my favorite dishes are actually my husband's dishes, because, you know, that's why I married him in the first place. Not because of the cooking, but because for me too, the dishes represent my love for my husband, for his family, for his country, and then through that for the region at large. So I too have lots of memories, and this Dejaj Thabit is definitely a family favorite, because it's not only a dish that's specific to my husband's mom, but it's a very typical dish of his community that is not cooked by anyone out with that particular group. Beyond that, of course, we have things like dolma. Hanaan will, yeah, you see.
It's going to be a really difficult conversation for me now, because you know, I haven't got these recipes yet, and I haven't figured out how to make them yet. So now I'm just going to be dreaming for the rest of the evening about these dishes we're going to talk about.
Well, you might have to do Zoom calls where there's actual demonstration.
Yeah, a Zoom cooking class. Maybe we can all do this together one day, a Zoom cooking class.
Yeah.
And I have to say, actually, credit where credit's due. As much as I say, you know, German dishes, Iraqi dishes, my mom also makes really, really good Iraqi dishes. You know, obviously my dad has a little bit of an upper hand because he's tasted the original from my grandmother and everything. But my mom makes a really, I mean, spot on Iraqi, a few Iraqi dishes. So credit where credit's due, Mama. We'll put your name and Baba's name next to the Iraqi dishes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And then, of course, one thing I really, really do love is baking and making sweeties, because that is something that really came down through my mother very strongly. And the other day we were actually chatting about our fabulous intercultural Christmas celebrations, because traditionally Christmas is just a German Christmas, but it is my husband who does the turkey, and nobody is allowed to enter the kitchen for the entire day while he is hiding to come out 6 hours later with the most spectacular turkey and the kitchen in tatters, of course. But the baking is very, very German. And so I, especially when the kids were small, used to make mountains of Christmas biscuits that were the tradition from back home, and that connected me back to my old childhood. And while the kids ate them and my husband ate them in quantity, somehow there was always a tin of biscuits that was forgotten on top of the kitchen cupboard, and we found it 6 months later, and they were still in perfect working order, the biscuits. And every time that happens, I have to smile, because exactly the same happened in my family home back in Germany, where my father loved my mother's biscuits so much that she actually had to hide them from him so they would not be finished before Christmas. And she hid them in such ingenious places that yet again, you know, years later, she would open a ceramic jar somewhere on top of a cupboard, and it was full of Christmas biscuits.
No, that's very cool. You know, and it's lovely to see that we you know, during this time, many families, many people have looked back at their family and developed projects that perhaps they wouldn't have had the time to do. But there's also been, a lot of change, and the future that we're trying to reimagine. We know from all sorts of different issues that have come up around the world that we're dealing with. How do you, what are those conversations like? Do you have those conversations across generations and across cultural contexts right now? Because I think that that's something that I know some of my colleagues, myself included, are struggling with, because there seems to be, a huge change in the making.
Yeah, Mama, you can start on this one.
Absolutely. Nobody knows what the future will bring, but for me personally, all I need is to have people back around me. I don't care how structures and systems change. I do hope they change for the better, because we are realizing more than ever before that change is needed fundamentally at all levels and in all aspects of our lives. But as long as I can face that change with my family, the people I love, and just humanity in general back around me, I'm ready. I'm totally excited as well in many ways what the future will bring.
I would definitely agree with that. I think that there's so many changes that are going to come from this, and we don't know what they're going to be yet, but we obviously needed, we needed a lot of them, a lot of some of the ones that are already happening now. People waking up, opening their eyes to what's actually happening in the world. I think people are a lot more aware of things that are going on, or I think people have been so narrow-sighted, and they just, they have this tunnel vision of my life is great, and I have my car and my dream job, and very materialistic and stuff. And even in terms of their family, I feel like a lot of people didn't have that appreciation for their family. And I think now, with everything that's happened, I think that everyone has this newfound appreciation for really the most important things in life. You're going back to the most fundamental things in life. And, your family, your health, being together, being, having a roof over your head, having food on the table. And I think everyone's going back to that fundamental appreciation. And yeah, I'll be quite happy also. I will be quite happy regardless of what happens, as long as my family are fine and we're all healthy and we can all eventually get to one another, and have a good, sit down, catch up, good laugh, then we'll be totally fine. I feel like as long as we have one another, we can support one another. And yes, we have down days and it's difficult and we don't understand really what's going on or what's going to come. But we have one another. Like, that's why we're there. You don't really need anyone else. Like, if you have such a strong support system with your family and you really appreciate that support system, you don't need anything else. Like, you'll be fine. You'll figure it out together as a unit. So that's how I feel. I feel super lucky.
Yeah, and I think that that's important to remember, because we are lucky, those of us that have families.
Yeah.
And people that we can call on. And there are a lot of people who are very lonely right now who haven't got that opportunity, don't have that opportunity as well. And hopefully, through technology, they can make connections with other people. But I'm wondering, what that sort of technology might be in different parts of the world, because it's kind of staggering to think that this is a global situation, that there are people in all sorts of different circumstances dealing with this. But I think your advice is what I'm hearing from both of you is that, we will meet again. And and when we meet again, we have an opportunity to really address some of the issues from the past that we need to address. And then to continue. I mean, I've been really, for instance, fascinated by the impact on the environment, on the quality of the air of, and those very important issues have kind of disappeared from the media recently, but it's something that I think, has been a side effect, if you want, of shutting down a lot of our activity. So I'm hoping that when, we restart, that we take those things into consideration. In where you are in Dubai, what are some of the things that you feel people are starting to think about in terms of, you know, daily life?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, talking of clearer air, I definitely noticed that over here. Obviously, we've got loads of cars on the street. I mean, you can't walk 1 meter in Dubai and get anywhere, so you have to drive. I love driving, but really, like, you can feel it in the air. Sometimes you can't even see the buildings. It's so hazy and so polluted. So I definitely think that that's one thing that we noticed. I feel like there's been a massive coming together of the community. I mean, obviously there is a lot of people struggling, and you can never deny that, and it's heartbreaking. But as a whole, I think that everyone's really come together. I've seen amazing initiatives for supporting people who have lost their jobs, making sure that they're fed. You know, the government have allowed everyone to have like free corona tests. And you know, I feel like really, like, they try to cover everyone. They try to make sure everyone's safe, everyone's looked after as best as possible. And I think, you know, even for me, like, I am a massive humanitarian, and I've been very sad lately because I haven't been able to do more. And I think I've been so overwhelmed by the situation, I almost don't know, like, where to start. Like, there's so much going on, I don't know where to start. But I do my little pieces here and there every single day as much as I can. But even, you know, I've seen a lot of people around me just changing the conversation, I would say, because, you know, even saying hi to a security guard, or you know, saying thank you, or seeing someone outside and it's boiling and they don't have a bottle of water and giving them, I genuinely think now, after this whole situation, people are more open to that. They're more open to seeing other people. They're more open to seeing this person in front of them, like, and thinking of them and acknowledging them, and wanting to connect with them in whatever way, whether it needs to be helping them, whether it's smiling at them, whether it's saying hello. But I don't know, there seems to be a bigger sense of people kind of acknowledging each other. We're all in the same boat. Doesn't matter race, religion, social class, nothing, you know, we're all in the same kind of situation. So it's been really nice. It's been really nice. I hope it continues. I know we can all do more. I've been saying this to Mama. I've been crying about this as well, in the fact that I can't do more, but I'm actively looking to see what I can do. And I'm just so happy just that people are, like, open to even having this discussion of how can we give back? How can we support? What can I do? And the first thing I always say to people is, like, you know, it's nothing to do with money or physically giving things to people. I was like, just be kind. You know, that's step one. Be kind, and then that is giving back in its own right. And then whatever else you can do beyond that is amazing. That's it. But I really feel like people have come together and they're more open to kind of just, you know, seeing each other, supporting each other in whatever that means to them, I guess. So yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you. That speaks to me of values that are often, you know, passed down intergenerationally, part of that intangible culture that we all inherit from, you know, we spoke about food earlier, but, you know, so I'm wondering, Ulrike, you know, that ethic of being the change you want to see, and the small acts of kindness, how has that changed in your life, and what have you been doing these days in that?
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more with
I am a product of my mom and dad. So if there's anything that you're gonna ask, I'm literally only like this because of my mom and dad. Like, I owe everything to my mom and dad and their values and ethics they've passed down to me. So Muti. It's all because
I would say, you know, you are such an inspiration, because I share completely your frustration of not being able to do much at this point in time in lockdown. It drives me crazy, actually. But these little gestures that you are talking about, I try to build them into every day. And you know, I go for my walk every day in the woods near my flat here, and I say hello to every single person I meet on the walk, because like you, I completely believe that any act of kindness, even if it is the smallest one, is not only an easy one and should be given heartfelt, but it's also the start of greater kindness, right? So I really totally agree with you, and I am so inspired by what you are saying, because ultimately you, as part of the young generation, you have to carry on your shoulders all the problems that we created as the older generation. So with that kind of vision and with that commitment to humanity, there is actually hope. And I know that there are a lot of people and a lot of young people out there sensing that acutely and showing their determination to make a change and to fight for human dignity and equity and equality all over the world. And if these young people are able to articulate it as beautifully and as humanistically as you have been doing, then there is actually more than hope. There is actually a brighter future out there, right? It will take suffering, it will take a lot of thinking and probing, because we need to, of course, go beyond the easy fixes, right? And that takes time and dedication and sacrifice. But in the long run, with these kind of attitudes, we can move forward. And I think that is one of the great advantages of this crisis, that we have rediscovered our humanity and have realized that anything we do in this world, we cannot do without our fellow human beings, wherever they may be and around the world.
And I love how you're both so positive and you're focusing on that. And I agree with you. I think that that's the way we get through this and we actually flourish going forward. But we're also seeing a lot of xenophobia. We're seeing echo chambers develop online. We're seeing divisions as well. And Ulrike, I wanted to ask you this question in your capacity as Director of Collections and Public Programs at the museum, because the museum is part of the Aga Khan Trust for Culture, which is part of the Aga Khan Development Network. And, I think this network has been doing humanitarian work and seeking economic, social, health justice, if you want, and access for different communities around the world for a long time. How do you see that ethic of pluralism that's within there playing into your vision for the work that we do as part of that network going forward?
It lies at the heart of everything we do. It is actually the very reason why I came to this museum, because I believe that here we have a unique museum as part of a greater network that has it stated in its mission to make the world a better place and to contribute to peacemaking through art and culture. So, and interestingly, again, if you look around the world, people have been turning to art and to culture. And I mean art, of course, in the broadest sense of the word, including cooking and food, to exercise their fear and their tension and their frustrations. And in the process, they have not only created something that has meaning to them and that externalizes all that's penned up inside themselves, but they are also showing us that art, in a sense, is not at all a kind of playing ground for the elite or an indulgence. It is, in fact, an existential human instinct of survival. And that shows us that it's actually crucial to our lives. It is something that we have to foster, we have to encourage, and then we also have to use it to express our aspirations for a more equitable future. And in our museum, we have been actively empowered to seek that path within the framework of our family that we belong to. And that is, that is one aspect that feels very empowering at this point in time in particular.
So yeah, so I love that because, you know, Hanaan, you talked about that personal way of making changes. And then we have these opportunities through the work we do and the institutions we work for to also do that. You know, on that note, I wanted to, first of all, thank both of you for your time and for making public something that is private. So that takes a lot of courage. So I want to thank you for that. But what I really hope the outcome of this is that it inspires parents and their children, elders and young ones to have conversations and to talk to one another.
Absolutely. And you know, that is a very important point, because now more than ever, the conversations between generations are often broken. But the solutions can also lie in these intergenerational conversations, because the young generations, as I said, have lots to carry on their shoulders. They also have their solutions and their thoughts that we as the older generation do no longer have with such vigor and with such dynamic thinking. But at the same time, you know, from our experience, life experience, and perhaps also our professional knowledge and so on, we might have certain wisdoms to bring to the table. And I really truly believe that in conversations like we've been having between us today, there lies a lot of potential to think about the future and reimagine the future in a way that, despite all the challenges we are going through at the moment, is actually an invigorating change and something that we should look forward to and strive for.
Couldn't agree more. I think it's the biggest blessing to be able to openly speak to your parents, just in general. I mean, being able to have these kind of conversations is amazing, but just in general, being able to speak to your parents so openly and so freely without judgment, and you both kind of like, you get the wisdoms of your mom and your dad, or your parents or your elders. You get the wisdoms of like, we've been through this, and they can comfort you in that sense. And then you've got the younger generation who can also be like, you know, we're quite open to change, we're all ready to adapt, and you know, so we bring that level of positivity to our parents as well. So it's a win-win situation. It's a good thing to do. It's an amazing blessing to be able to do it.
And I remember, by the way, just in closing, my son Laith, we had discussions, and he is my mentor in many ways. And at some point in my career in the past, I wasn't sure what was going on, and I didn't know what the next step would be. And he said, "Mama, why are you worried?" He said, "The whole world is there for you to explore." Yeah. And it was such a simple, profound statement that completely resolved my predicament in that moment, because I thought, oh my God, he is so right. You know, the way that we are nowadays, the whole world is there to move into, to support, to have conversations with. And he lifted me and put me back into a place of equilibrium at that point.
Well, thank you. I am very grateful for your time again, and I hope we can continue to have these conversations with one another here and across differences in time zones and generations.
We'd love to. I'm going to make a suggestion also, that next time we come together, we get either my mom and my dad to do a cooking class for us on one of the dishes from the Mama and Baba Al-Khamis cooking book. So,
Ulrike, did you send the apple cake video to Hanaan? Did you see that, Hanaan?